I'm here to help women reset and rewild, to embrace and prioritize the pauses in order to reclaim their peace and power. I'm Dr. Michelle Paris, director of the Poppy Clinic and founder and CEO of the Wild Collective. As a disruptor, naturopathic doctor, wife, and mama, I've created a global movement and sacred space for women to rise together. Here, you'll break through limitations, romanticize your life, and unlock the magic of your divine feminine power. My life's work is rooted in community, lifting women into their most powerful, authentic selves, while empowering clinicians to elevate their practices with a transformational, community-driven model. I lead a thriving, passion-fueled business and naturopathic practice brimming with abundance, where I can guide women to invigorate their lives through sisterhood and elevate healthcare with a cutting-edge transformational approach. I've witnessed firsthand in my practice how this model sparks consistent health transformation, creates flourishing communities, and brings profitable success. You can have it all, a life filled with abundance, contagious joy, and untethered potential. So pull up a seat. It's time to pour into yourself and tap into your intuition and design a life that's wild, free, and uniquely yours. And I'm going to show you how. This is Wild Medicine. Good morning.
Good morning.
Whatever time anyone else is listening to it. Good morning for us. And we're back. We're back for another episode. And when Tara and I talked about, the direction of the podcast, there were like three main areas that we really wanted to focus on. One is obviously metabolic health and weight loss. The other is, rewilding the Wild Collective, empowered tween, women's health, that aspect. And then the other aspect that we both have a shared love for is entrepreneurship, helping clinicians succeed in this space. I think it's such a really cool opportunity. I have been a naturopathic doctor for 17 years and have, build and failed many, many times. And I get to share insights with someone who's come out as a force and has achieved some pretty amazing accolades and success very early in her career. And you have just such an acumen for this that I think we both have so much to add to this conversation and different viewpoints, which I actually really love. So we're answering a question that was asked for us.
Hi, Dr. Paris. Hope you're doing well. So I'm a fourth-year naturopathic intern getting ready to graduate next year. And I've been thinking a lot about the kind of practice that I want to build. So my vision is to have a practice that's not just one-on-one care, but also includes group programs, courses, and other offerings that feel intuitively guided while still providing real clinical value. So my question to you is, how would you navigate building something like this as a new grad, balancing the professional regulations that we have, staying true to your intuition, and creating a successful integrated business without feeling scattered? Thank you so much.
If you guys want to ask us a question, we have a link in the show notes and you can leave us a voice note and we will play it on air and we will answer your question. So whether it's about metabolic health or women's health or community or entrepreneurship, we would love to answer that. So I'm gonna let you dive right on in, given that you are into your second year, right? Is this correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, into your second year of clinical practice, absolutely crushing it.
Thank you.
And have built communities successfully. What would you answer her question?
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, I'm so excited that we're doing this. I think this is such a great topic. And I think that this really is, and I think we both feel this way, that this is the future of medicine. It's the future of impact. And I think for both of us, one of the reasons that we're so passionate about group health is we need community, right? We get better in community. We get better through connection. And that piece is so important. So thank you for the question that was submitted. I think so right off the bat, and so I'll talk about sort of two aspects of this, and we, of course, will riff back and forth, but building community in person and what that looks like, and then also building community online and what that looks like. And they're in my experience, they are very different things and very different strategy. But maybe should we start with in person and then we can riff on that?
You go wherever you want to go. I have
Okay.
ideas and I can just contribute.
Okay, love it. Okay. Okay, let's start with in person. And of course, Michelle is the wealth of knowledge when it comes to all of things community. And something that came to mind listening to the question for me was pick a niche, pick something. Yeah, like pick something that and get super clear on what that is. So the way that I build in-person community is tween things. So mom and daughter. And that has been a focus for a long time is building this like puberty education between moms and daughters. And it's been so clear from the beginning that that is the community that I want to build and want to serve. And I think it's been interesting too. That's a part of my practice, probably about half-ish of my practice, but the other half is metabolic health, so something completely different. And I think that sometimes people, when it comes to building community, they feel really hesitant to pick a niche because they feel like then they're tied to that niche forever. And I think that stops people before they start feeling like they're pigeonholing themselves. And it's been a really good lesson for me to see I can grow and build this niche that I'm really passionate about and also have a totally other niche and love that equally and want to grow and build that equally. So I think sometimes people spend too long in the contemplation phase of like, well, what should my niche be? And I love everything and I just want to help. And yes to all of that. And also just pick something and run with it and let it evolve and let it change.
Yeah, if you treat everything, no one can find you. And just to mirror back what you're saying, 17 years in, I started in sports medicine. I became
Mhm.
Dr. Mom. I then became the group Health Wild Collective, and now I find myself in weight loss and metabolic health. Like you will evolve. That's the call to our growth is to
Mhm.
evolve. And I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest mistake clinicians make is their propensity to overthinking and not taking action.
Mhm.
Throw
Yeah.
spaghetti at the frickin' wall.
Yeah. Yeah. See what works, right? Like
Mhm.
you don't know until you try. And even like with the puberty education and moms and daughters, I didn't know that was a niche until I just started doing it, right? Like you can also build your own niche and make that feel really good and just yeah, let it evolve. Let it evolve because life evolves. We evolve.
And I just want to mirror something and acknowledge in you because I think it's really important to highlight is that I think there's a lot of people out there that don't believe or truly think from their own experience that teen health is hard to build. And I can admit that that is a challenge because you're speaking to a different person than the person you're trying to attract because teens aren't paying for their healthcare typically. And you did it. So like respectfully, things can be hard and you can still do it. So I just think there's just so much noise and you were super clear about who you served. You had a huge heart for it and you created opportunities and now it's like not only is it a thing, you are a huge ripple in that area of medicine
Thank you.
over, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think people need to really use you as evidence of like anything is possible. You truly picked one of the hardest demographics to serve. And not only did you fully succeed, you really are treading a different path in terms of, diversified offerings, which is, I think, part of the question that I think is really important to highlight. But one of the things I heard her say is like, how do we prevent scatter? You prevent
Mhm.
scatter by solving one problem.
Yes.
And it is
Totally.
on us to have diversified offerings because not everyone's going to be able to afford one-on-one care. But
Mhm.
when you solve one problem, then the diversified offerings all have a consistent message. And that's how you prevent the scatter.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was actually, this is kind of a funny story, but like how I even got introduced to you. And I think we've talked about this, but I don't know if we've talked about all the details.
Oh,
Do you
no.
know how I first came across you?
No. Me?
Okay. Okay. This is funny then. So I was really at CCNM, I was really interested in learning how to create affordable care. And there was a club, the Affordable Healthcare Club, and you came and did a talk, a virtual talk for that club. And you talked all about community health and how exactly that, right? Like diversifying your offers, and how if you have group programs and you have these offers, you can have your practice and you can charge what you need to charge. And then you can also have more accessible offers, right? People can access healthcare in lots of different ways. And I was so inspired by you. And I think this is another piece of it too. I was so inspired by you. And you mentioned a coach that you had worked with. And you were like, and you mentioned her a few times, and you're like, everyone has to work with her because she's helped me so much and all the things. And so I did. So I looked her up, I went to her thing, I did all the things. And I'm so grateful for that experience. And I think that's another part of it too, is like find the people that you really align with, right? Like who you, like when you spoke, I was like, wow, that is a person who I admire and who is doing something that I definitely want to do. And so when you gave advice, I was like, great, writing that down. I'm going to go do the thing. Right. So I think finding those people, and then when they give advice, when they tell you what to do, go do it.
Yeah. And you're wired in a very special way where you're like, yeah, I'll just take action. Because we've talked a few things that you've done in your career that were so unique to you. And also, I think that's a really inspiring piece to add, because the visual I have is like, that's where it started. And then you came onto our team in a supportive role, and now we share everything. So like what becomes possible when you're like, I'm really inspired by that person, and I never ever felt like you were trying to get something from me. I always felt like you contributed more. You always added value. I think this is really important professionally, because I think a lot of NDs do this incorrectly.
Mm.
From beginning to end, you've always contributed more and tried to add value to every opportunity you've been given. Hence why people are like, I want to associate myself with her. I want to work with her. She can grow with the team. She adds a lot of value. I think there's something really important to highlight there in terms of, yes, find the people who are doing what you want to be doing and listen to them and take action wherever they're, telling you things that have helped them along the way, or choose to invest, but also add value. How can when we are service oriented and we're not trying to get, but we're trying to provide, you're going to go a lot further. The whole
Absolutely.
quote, you catch more bees with honey than
With
vinegar.
honey.
Be the
Yeah, yeah.
honey.
Be the
Be the honey.
honey. Yeah,
Add value.
yeah,
But that's crazy that it's like one simple little talk.
yeah.
And we're like partners in everything.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, and thank you for all your kind words. But,
Sure.
and it was, and I never felt like that, like, oh, let me get close and take. Like I was always like, this is someone I respect. I'd love to be around her. I'd just love to learn. How can I help? Right. Like, and I think, yeah, like that's the piece of it, is like identifying those people and being like, okay, how can I learn from you? How can I support what you're doing? Because I think that's such a beautiful vision. There was also someone when I was still in school, and she did a lot of mental health, and I was really interested in mental health in school as well. And I saw on Instagram, she was doing like an Instagram live and talking about something. And I joined it, and I saw that she was struggling with the tech of like starting it and all the pieces. And so I sent her a message after. And she was someone I like, she has a book. I read the book. I always really respected her. And I sent her a message after, and I said, I was on your live. Thanks for doing that. I learned so much. And I said this nicely, but like, with the tech, like if you need some help, I can totally help you with that. Like I'm really comfortable with tech pieces. And she responded to me. She's like, do you want a job? And I was like, yeah, sure. And that was great, right? Then I got to learn again from someone that I really admired and respected. And she was running group programs as well. And I got to learn a lot there too. Like, I think it's also like put yourself out there and be generous with your time, right? Be generous. And I think especially coming out of school, I know in school you feel like you have no time and things are so overwhelming and stressful. And it totally is. But I was so eager to learn, right? And so eager to put myself out there. And we've talked about this too, right? That I think I graduated really aware that I didn't know much about business and that we are entrepreneurs. And so investing like time and money, which I spent a lot of money I did not have at the time, learning about business. It is so important. Those are those are skills. They are skills that you can learn.
Yeah, and like we both sit with the reality is not everybody makes it,
Hmm.
right? Without that acumen. So like where can you and you can invest in programs, which I know you did. And then you could also invest in being of service. Like I hope
Yes.
people are taking notes by what you just shared because if someone wrote me that, I would have immediately said yes. Like what an asset you were to understand naturopathic medicine, to have a fervor for mental health, and then to be able to provide support. Like how and it's not genius. You're not a person. It is genius. It's not, but you were not trying to get something. You were trying to be of service. And as a byproduct, you were in the right rooms, as people say, to
Hmm.
learn what you needed to learn to be
Hmm.
successful yourself. And I think that is a brilliant strategy. Brilliant.
Yeah. 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 And it's funny. It wasn't like didn't feel strategic. You know, it
No.
was just, yeah, like it was just like how I respect this person. How can I help? How can I push your message forward and help? And I think that that even goes back to creating group programs and just creating community in general, right?
Mhm.
It's I think sometimes we have an expectation that if it doesn't take off right away, that we shouldn't do it, right? And things take time. Things take time. Trust is built over time. People want to see that you care, that you can show up, that you're consistent, that you understand what they're going through. Trust is built over time, right? And I think about this especially with building online, building on social media. I think people, and I've heard this too, right? They post for a few weeks and they're like, well, I'm not making money. I'm not converting, right? Of course you're not. It takes time. It takes time. And especially on the internet, these are strangers, right? How often do you buy from a complete stranger on the internet? Probably not that often. You have to feel like you know them, you understand them, you trust them. I think that I was posting consistently for maybe a year before I ever launched anything paid online because it takes time, right? And I think you also need to take the time to understand your audience and what your audience even wants and is looking for so that you can truly be of service. So I think it needs to come from that at the beginning too, is just what does being of service look like? And the more that you can commit to that and know that the money will come, I think that's where you find success.
Yeah, and I'll mirror that for even what you built in person. And I think everybody needs to put a little sweat in the beginning,
Hmm.
right? You can choose to sit at the booths at the fairs, which is what I did because group health thing wasn't a thing when I started. But like, and Tara, you did something wonderful and you created free events, monthly events in the space where you'd be hosting tween in the environment where the girls would get super comfortable and ask their moms to join something like tween. You showed up and you provided free community support, which is totally congruent to the demographic, to the type of offer. And you consistently did that to build that trust in person the same way. It's like you followed the methodology of what worked for you online. You
Uh-huh.
just did it, right? And I
Yeah.
remember you even saying, like, this is something that you can add, and coach on another day, but like, you drove ad spend to
Mhm.
that so that people would find you so that you could grow that local audience when you were in the new phase. It wasn't overly expensive, but you understood like if I want to make this a thing and and like to your point, it didn't work right away, or maybe one launch worked and then it seemed like no one was interested because, right,
Mhm.
all the things, and we make so much meeting about this as clinicians and
Mhm.
probably any entrepreneur, really. We're all human and it sucks when it feels like no one's paying attention to you. But it's like, so I think when you love what you do and you have a niche that you love, you need to love it.
Mhm.
Then you go, okay, well, where's the pivot? And
Yeah.
I think I felt that way about Wild Collective, just like you did. When things weren't going the way that they naturally were in the beginning, it was like, well, where's the pivot? Where
Mhm.
do I need to look? What do I need to do in order to have the thing I say that I want and be of service in the way that I would like to impact, even when it feels like nobody's listening, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, like to your point, they post, daily for a month or whatever, and they're like, it's not working. think we both like feelings are not facts. Like you
Mhm.
need to take action even when there isn't evidence, especially when there isn't evidence. Because if you love it enough and the mission is important to you enough, you're willing to stand on that mountain when it seemingly feels like nobody's paying attention until all of a sudden things start to click. And
Mhm.
like, we can use your online platform as evidence, but like what you've grown is unbelievably impressive and it's completely organic. And, you tell me all the time about the rhetoric that's being told to students about it's impossible to make money online. Why bother building a social following? Because that's not even a thing, because busy doctors don't even have that. It's like,
Mhm.
well, here you are counter to all of that.
Mhm.
And you sell programs online,
Mhm.
courses around the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool. It's so
It's so
cool.
cool.
It's the coolest to see, like, it's truly all over the world. Like, huge following in New Zealand and Australia. I've had people all over Asia buy products, all over the US, Europe, and it's so and I have, like, a range of offers online starting from $30 all the way up to $300. And so even when it comes to affordable care, I feel so proud that I can offer such affordable care, right? Maybe they're struggling with just certain aspects, and this masterclass can be helpful to them, right? I think that's a part that makes me really proud of building online too, is that people can truly access this. Like, there are parts of the world where talking about puberty and periods is extremely taboo. Where talking about mental health is extremely taboo. It's not done, right? And so parents need these resources, and maybe they're not available locally, right? I think it's incredible the impact that we can have. And coming out of school too, I don't know if you remember this, but I initially I didn't even want a private practice. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and
do remember that.
it was it was I was just I always had such a vision of I wanna do this differently, and I think I'm really stubborn in that way. I always wanted to create something different, and I think that I had evidence from you and from, some other very few other clinicians that it was possible to do it differently. And so even for me, right, even while I was in school, it was, okay, let me learn about how I can do this differently so that I can do this in a way that feels really aligned. And I do have a private practice and I love my private practice. I'm so glad that I have that. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to have both, right? To grow two businesses at the same time. In really, it's even like from a creative perspective,
Mhm.
it feels really good and it feels really fun. And there's a lot of time freedom with that, because another thing that I wanted to mention too is that building any group program, and like we've said, it takes time, it takes patience. And I think especially building online takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, because in person, face to face, that really helps to build connection and trust,
Totally.
right? But on the internet, like, it's the internet. It's the Wild West,
Yeah.
right? That takes a lot of time to really build that. And so, my advice for people coming out of school, while you still have a lot of time, is invest time into doing that, into building online. Because I think about how busy my practice is now. If I was just starting out building online and trying to create that much content and build a course and offers and all of the things, it would be really challenging at this
Mhm.
point. But while you're still, like, while you're just graduating or even still in school, you have a little bit more time and flexibility to invest energy into building online.
Is bad math messing with your launch? I see you. If you are really excited about the group program that you have or the education program that you have online, and you know that it would really benefit so many people to have this information, but you don't know what to price it, you don't even know how to approach it, and you do not want to just do what everyone else is doing, which is looking at how everyone else is charging for their programs and just doing the same. That's really ineffective logic. It is also not ensuring that you're being paid appropriately for your efforts and hard work. Being someone who has been launching group programs for the last 8 years, I have figured out the framework and the calculation pathway to properly charge for your group program or online program. So if you head over to the show notes and click the link, it will take you over to my group health program calculator, which can help you start to figure out your monthly reoccurring revenue that you would need to make this a viable option for yourself, but also how to price it in a strategic and advantageous way for your greater community so that you can make the meaningful impact that you desire, but that it is a win-win situation. No more bad math messing with your magic. The world needs clinicians and coaches to be doing innovative, viable solutions to improve healthcare, and this can be a very effective way for you to be able to do that. So go check out my group health calculator and start plugging away and getting those numbers so that you can have a launch that is effective, scalable, really exciting, and successful. Good luck.
Yeah, there's nothing cooler than the fact that you have access to scalability, visibility, marketing capacity for free. Like social media is not going anywhere. And like there was no social media. There was no Instagram when I graduated. There was Facebook. But there was no Instagram, right? It wasn't a thing. And so like I appreciate learning that from you because it's so true. Once your practice does really kick off, it's so easy to get really invested in that. And harder to focus on the actual strategy or entrepreneurial pieces that allow for that continued growth, right? And I think, for you, it's really cool to see, but you are so intentional about what you put online. You are so specific, but because you had time in the beginning, you got to try a lot of different things and then you got to learn truly what your audience wanted from you. And so you were able to deliver on that at scale, which then built a level of trust to them, which they would buy from you. And I think like of all the, stumbling points or areas of friction as an entrepreneur and practitioner in this space over the years, like one of the things that was very evident to me along the way was how important it was to have diversified offerings, to be able to have courses for purchase at any time that are very low ticket, as low as $30, like to your point, to have access to provide group programming and continued support, because it was, for my practice, a way more advantageous tool for long-term transformation than one-on-one practice was. And then it allowed for me to really be very intentional with my time in one-on-one practice. So it's like to to take all those pieces and go back to how it started. I think you're right. It's like you do have time in the beginning. I remember how much time I had in the beginning, and you can really build something important and figure things out before things really take off in clinical practice. And then someone like yourself, it's like, well, now you have, like you said, two separate businesses. And, the cool part of that is if you go on vacation, people could still be, shopping or navigating on one part of your business, even though in the other you're on holidays, right? So it does allow for this opportunity for more financial freedom, more time freedom. And to your point, like I find the diversification so good from a creative perspective. Like, I think we are quite empathic, creative beings, especially as naturopathic doctors. Like that's a value for most of us. And when we get so focused, we can tend to lose our creative edge, I feel.
Yeah. And I think too, going back to niching, right? Like creating with that niche in mind. Like who is it? Who is that exact person that you are trying to impact? Because a lot of NDs, they're posting really general health content. And it's like you said at the beginning, it's like if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to nobody, right? And I think that this is sort of a harsh reality is that people online, they don't really care that you're a professional, right? They don't really care. They just want to know that you can solve their problem. And that's why there's health coaches making $100 million on the internet. And we're like, well, we are naturopathic doctors and we are so educated. We are the most educated in this field, right? So like the opportunity is there. We see that. We see the opportunity is there. It's not that there aren't people looking for help. It's that we aren't talking to the people that we want to help. And I think that if this is an area that you want to grow, both online and in person, getting extremely clear about who you help and how you solve their problem. It's so beneficial to take that time and to really be known for something. Be known for one specific thing so that whenever someone, if someone's going through puberty, they're like, go talk to Tara about that. Right. And families tell me that all the time. And I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great. Right. And then too, you can be really good at one thing. It's
Mhm.
impossible to know everything about everything, but be good at just a few things, right? Like weight loss and metabolic health and tween things, right? And that just mental space as well, and being able to stay up on all of the changes and research and treatment and blah, 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 all the things. It's really good to focus your attention and to be very specific about who exactly it is that you serve.
Yeah, and your practice reflects that. And you're really boundaried about that. I think it's super easy in the beginning to get really afraid. And so you start treating everything because you're not sure and
Mhm.
you don't want to turn anyone away. But you were like, nope, this is what I do. And you just, and now you see how many tweens just book in on their own volition, or like the parents, but
Yeah.
there is a real momentum for
Uh-huh.
your practice. And so, um, yeah, that level of clarity I think is really, really important. It's
Mm.
really important. And the cool thing, just highlight the pathway for people is okay, so let's say you just graduated, you think you know what you want to do. And so you create, some social media platforms and you start talking about that thing. And then, get people to engage. This is the cool thing that people don't realize the value of this free marketing tool is
Mhm.
that you could be actually asking people, and I remember you doing this in the beginning a lot, like polling people, "Do you want this or this?
Yeah.
What are you interested in? Put it in the box," right? So that you're constantly getting feedback from the people you want to serve,
Mhm.
exactly what they would like from you. And then you start creating free lead magnets for it to grow your list, and then you can talk to your list
Yeah.
consistently. And then when you finally build enough trust, you can then start putting some opportunities to connect. And I know I've heard people say starting with group coaching or group programming isn't the right way to start. Everyone has an opinion, especially if they're selling something different. So I think what's really, really important to be very trusting of, and I get to say this as proof because I've watched Tara do it as a new grad. And so respectfully, I get that, you know, certain things can be hard. Everything is possible when you have the drive and
Mhm.
and the goal to succeed at something. Anything is possible. And so it's all hogwash. If it's important to you, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And that is the truth. Does it take time to build community? Of course. You're starting off with one person. It's going to
Mhm.
take time. And it is entirely possible. And now you can go on platforms and start to create community and create connection and create something of value to people you want to serve, so that when it comes time to try something, you're speaking to an audience that you built for free. This wasn't possible when I
Mhm.
started, right? This is not how people used even Facebook. I mean, eventually they used Facebook groups, but it just wasn't a thing. And now it's such a part of how people navigate and invest in anything
Mm.
in the wellness space. So it's a totally different stratosphere and opportunity available to you, that if you start with just saying I think I'm interested in this, this is the one problem I'm going to solve. Eventually I want to have an entire practice built on this one problem, because I can't tell you, I've done the naturopath thing where you treat everything, and now I treat one thing, and I can't tell you the level of joy. I thought that would be like the death of me.
It's the best.
It's the best.
The best.
I love being really good at something.
Yeah.
That feels really, really good.
Yeah.
The level of clarity at which I can watch my patients move through our
Mhm.
reset, I'm like, I know what's going on here. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's all I study. It's all,
Mhm.
I love that level of mastery.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree.
yeah, in hindsight, I wish I had done that sooner. I was too
Mhm.
afraid to. I
Mhm.
was telling you all the marketing strategies that my clinic owner in the beginning was, making me feel like I had to do. And it was, good learning
Yeah.
stuff I wouldn't do again. But you want to have like, you want to grow one-on-one practice where you are specifically, very niched. You want to have all these diversified offerings. You build it back, and you do it by first, I think you articulated it perfectly, by being of service. How can I make the world that I am immersed in, this local world, this online space, a better place? How can I contribute value? How can I be of service to these people? And by asking them questions about what they actually need, how they want the problem solved, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Well, now you can start to build offers around that. And I think people don't realize that if we just stay disciplined to the goal, like, I think you've noticed this too. You try one thing and it works or it doesn't. And then the next step always makes itself obvious. Like, Wild Collective was an idea to run one group of 20 women through. I had no ideas of global expansion. None of that was on the horizon when I started it. And at the end of those 10 months with that first group, they're like, we're not separating. So figure it out. And I was like, okay, right. And then things really garnered beautiful momentum from that point, because I was like, I think this is a thing, right? So we quit before we ever get to see something take off. And, I think if we were just really focused on being of service, whether it's aligning yourself with the right practitioners who are doing what you want to be doing, or to being of service to the audience you want to serve, you can't misstep.
Yeah. And I think it's just like you said, I think the hardest lesson, the most painful lesson that I've learned in all of this is failure. And right, like putting everything out there and trying to launch at flop. We should do a whole episode on all of our failed launches.
I think people need to know.
It's
like, all
important.
sunshine and rainbows.
It's so important. And honestly, at this point, and in the beginning, I remember like between when we would try to launch, and like sometimes it was great, and then other times it was crickets. And I would text you and I'd be like, man, this is like, I would be so down. And that was a hard lesson to learn, that failure doesn't mean stop. Failure means try again a little differently. Right. And it's just that has like, now something doesn't work. I'm like, okay, how do we change this? How do we
100%.
It's not personal. It is not personal. It's, okay, maybe this needs a different spin. Maybe I'm not articulating this well. Like, it is not, you are a failure, which is how it felt in the beginning. And I heard this quote recently. It was, the expert has failed more times than the beginner has even tried, right? And I think that it's so true. It's so true. And I think that really stops people before they even start. And like you said, right, like the next step will make itself clear. It always does. It always does. But we have to be, I think, in it enough to allow that next step to present itself, right? Like we talked about this recently, that both of us, quitting was never an option. It's like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm just going to keep figuring it out. It's not going to get hard and I'm going to quit. It's going to get hard because it's going to get hard. And then it's going to be, okay, what next? And how do I figure this out? And what's the next right step? And okay, maybe ad spend here, or maybe like everything is figure outable, but you have to double down on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to trust yourself.
Yeah, what I heard you say is two things that I think are really important to highlight. The first thing is the all-in energy, not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I think we see a lot of that in our profession, and in any profession, by the way. That's not like a critique. It's, we're really afraid to fail, and we're really afraid it's not going to work out. So we have like a plan B or a backup plan. And I think what you're saying, and I think it's true for group health, is that there needs to be this all-in energy. And I think what I love that you said there, and it's a continuation of that, is the failure is the next step sometimes. The failure is the awakening of like, what you're doing is not working. It's not what they need. If you are actually of service, where's the pivot? Where's the new thing? What's the thing I could try to help them pay attention? I want to wake women up, and I'm speaking to an audience of sleepy, numbed out women. It's not an easy task, right? It's like, oh man, I could have picked something way easier than this because this is hard. But like, you gotta love it enough, and then you just figure it out. And I think that's that's the beautiful piece is sometimes the failure is the step. It is the step because it actually is it's what builds the master. To your point, the master's just failed more times than the beginners ever even tried because that's just how it is. You have to fail. And I remember looking at you and being like, yep, it just sometimes it's crickets. And like it's not about you. You do anything wrong. It's not, and feelings are not facts.
I think school in general, like the education system does not set up failure as a positive outcome, right? And I think that's a rude awakening when we finish school. And then failure is actually truly part of the process. Truly, truly part of the process. But in school, if you failed, that could blow up your life. Like that's huge, huge. You have to, right? You have to repeat the class. Like it's like a whole thing. And then you get to this and like school does not set you up to be an entrepreneur, including naturopathic college that produces entrepreneurs. But it does not set you up for all of the skills that are truly necessary from that business perspective. And I really think that in our profession, in any profession where you graduate as an entrepreneur, you are an entrepreneur first and you are a clinician second. Because if you cannot market yourself, if you cannot communicate what it is that you love and how you serve and how you're the best at it, you don't get the opportunity to be a clinician. It has to start with business education and paying the money that maybe you don't have. And I can't even tell you how much money I spent that I did not have because I knew that that was important to learn business, to change mindset and challenge those things. Those are essential to becoming an entrepreneur. And I think there's a lot of, well, I wish this was part of the curriculum. Well, it's not. And so you got to seek that elsewhere. That's not changing. And so we have to change. We have to change how we access that information because that is a learning gap. And at the end of the day, it's your business and it's up to you to seek that out and to fill that for yourself.
100%. And just to like amplify what you're saying, because we're talking about the one thing, the choice to choose to invest money that you don't have. You also are one of the most financially successful first year grads out there. So there's also proof in the actual energy investment and financial investment that you made your money back and then some, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's really, really what an asset you are to the profession. So early on in the profession to be showing evidence of what's possible, even though I know it can be a really scarcity mentality in the healthcare space for sure for regulated professionals. There is just turn your head a different direction if you're not liking the scarcity conversation.
Absolutely. And it's loud, right? It's
Definitely.
loud.
Yeah.
And I think it is, even when I was doing all my financials for last year, which was my first full year of practice, I think it was about 45% of my income last year came from social media and group programs. So that's like for grads listening, like that's a big chunk. That's a big chunk that came from something that we are not taught is the path, right? And that's, like if you're thinking about like, oh, well, is it worth it? Like it is worth it. It is worth it to learn these things and to, and just like to invest the time, the money and the energy to figure this piece out if it is an important piece to you. Like spend some time, get savvy about it. And I think something that I was thinking about too when you mentioned your clinic owner previously, finding a home, if you're working in a clinic setting, finding your clinic home that feels really good. And a clinic owner, all the time we text each other, we're like, we are so lucky. We are so lucky. And truly, I feel so, so lucky to have you as my clinic owner. Like I feel so aligned and I hear horror stories. I think you have to find the right home and don't be willing to settle, right? Like know what is important to you and find someone that can really encourage that growth. And I think, Michelle, you are a unicorn in that. There are not a lot of clinic owners that really want their clinicians to truly succeed in the clinic, of course, but also outside, like that really care about their clinicians as a human, right? Like I think that is extremely rare. And I feel so lucky to have you. And I just want people to know that there are unicorns out there because it makes a big difference. It really does. Like if you were not supportive of all of the other things I'm doing, like I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it, right? Like it's huge. It's huge. And I just love you and appreciate you so, so much.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I think, for new grads who might be searching for clinical opportunities out there, I do think, you get to interview your clinic owner as much as they're interviewing you. It really does need to be about a fit. It should be a long-term relationship. And that really was the decision. I was very clear, in my evolution as a clinic owner that those were the relationships I was looking for. And it can work and it cannot work. You're always taking a risk both ways. And you do your best as you learn. And I think one of the assets for me is, as you're interviewing people, is I was an associate. I was an associate who wanted to have a personal brand and had to navigate those conversations and learned a lot from being on the other side. So I do think that's important in terms of trying to understand. And then to look at someone like yourself, and as someone is listening to you is like, wow, Tara's so inspiring. Like, how do you do something like that? You really do need to make sure that you're choosing a clinic that is, innovative and willing to, modernize, right? So if you're trying to fit your new model into an old model of care, there probably is going to be some friction or some, points that might not align with the new way of doing things. I love having you as evidence. Like 45% of your income is coming from again, like I watched coaches that I knew personally say like group health isn't a thing. You don't have to listen to noise. Just turn your head in a different direction. There's other evidence of this working, even when other people are telling you, even if they're super prevalent in the space, that that's not possible. It's simply not true. And I appreciate your perspective on, really thinking about being an entrepreneur first. That's going to be hard for people to hear, but it is the truth, right? Like if you really want to serve in that capacity, you first have to get your message out there to be able to serve in that capacity. And I'll just add one thing because I heard it. She asked about regulation and all those pieces. And, if you're nervous about that, then you also outsource where you're not the strongest. So, we have things reviewed by our lawyer. We have a lawyer. We talk and we understand to make sure that we are in compliance with the college and we do important work. I know I'm like a 10 out of 10 quick start. I will throw spaghetti at the wall really fast and then be like, should I run them by a lawyer first? Yes. That's why I have that, right? Know better, do better. Picking HIPAA compliant platforms that are supportive of practitioners being able to provide safe care, but care that you want to deliver that is more accessible. Like there are just so many options. And so to just highlight that point again, like if those are areas that you don't understand yet, then reach out or invest in coaching or support to learn those pieces, to do this in a way that is coherent or in compliance with your college and in congruent to how you want to be of service. Like all of it is workable. You just have to turn your head in the right direction and take action and invest where it makes sense to invest. We started with people saying what we were observing and we'll finish by mirroring it. Most people never take action. So the colossal waste here is that we never even tried.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything is figure outable. Everything is figure outable always, right? And I think that's even going back to what we said at the beginning. It's just start. You can think yourself to death. It's a spiral and you can talk yourself out of it and it can get hard and then you get busy and then you never get started, right? It's just get started, ask for help, figure it out along the way, fail because you gotta, and just keep going. Just keep going. If it's important enough to you, just start. Just start.
This episode is brought to you by the Collective Creator Academy. If you are a clinician or a coach in the wellness space looking to bring group health programming to your list of offerings because you truly believe that community is the answer and getting people to gather around, especially like-minded individuals on the journey of transformative health, then this program is for you. I have been coaching clinicians and coaches for the last 5 years. And what I did with the CCA was compiled everything that I know around group health, medicine, scaling your business, creating intellectual property, launching, marketing, strategy, building your group program, what works and what doesn't. And I put it all in a self-paced program called the Collective Creator Academy. This program has not only helped me build the practice of my dreams, but it is also helping other regulated and allied professionals do the same for their business. So if you're ready to get serious about group health, medicine, and launching programs, then this program is for you. Go check the show notes and click the link and watch the masterclass, and I'll see you in the CCA.
Let it be messy, right? Let it be messy. Let yourself figure it out, because if this is the model of care that you want, it's worth it on the other side, right? It's worth it. And you are building your career, right? Like you're in it, right? Like I had this realization where I finished school and I'm doing the things and I'm like, I'm in my life. I'm in the part that I've been working my whole life to get to. And I think it's so important to be so intentional about that, right? If you're in the thing, how do you want this to look? Right. And if you want this to look really differently in 5 years or 10 years, then you have to start today. Right? Just get started.
Yeah. Well, it's a love fest. We've disclosed it's always a love fest between us.
Always.
I am super proud of you. I think what allows for our conversation to land a little bit more viscerally for people out there, it's one thing to listen to a 17-year, gal in the
No,
space, right? But and I have a lot to add. I'm not
you do.
doubting that. But it is quite another for people who really need to latch their hook. They need to hook on to some, possibility of some idea of what is possible early on, because I think group health gets downplayed in our space, especially early in your career. And I understand that. And if you're not up for the challenge, then yeah, maybe it's not your first step. But I think we both agree, if you pick a niche from the start and you diversify, group health is just part of it. And once you sit in one group program with people, you realize the value and the potential for your patients and your larger community that you support, what is possible when you put like-minded people together. You just can't unsee that. Also, people can't unsee or unhear what they're hearing today with your evidence. What you've grown is such a crazy short period of time is beyond impressive.
Thank
And it's really cool because for a long time, a lot of what I was saying is, it's not theoretical because I did it, but people could always criticize or say well, yeah, you were in practice for 7 years. You had a mailing list of this large or blah, blah, blah. We can make up all these excuses why it worked for someone else, why it won't work for us. Now we're we've bookended both possibilities. We did it either way. So now you need to just accept that this is actually possible at any part of your career. You either do it or you don't. And we're just so in your face with that you can't unsee it. You either do it or you don't. And it's just that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about CCA?
Ooh, you're so cute. So if you do want to invest in coaching and want support in a community, I was going to say this, how important it is that we've done so much of this work together. The Collective Creator Academy is an opportunity for clinicians to hang out with other clinicians who are building community alongside you. It has AI prompts built into it. It is all the training I did for all the Wild Collective facilitators back in the day, with the intention of you doing this with your own brand, your own vision, your own niche. Just take what has worked for us and make it work for your world. And, this level of investment feels really good because it's accessible to new grads. It's accessible to seasoned professionals who maybe have never invested in coaching. And what I'm most proud of is that it is the most high vibe space of clinicians. There's access to monthly coaching ongoing. It's a ridiculously good offer because I really want people to be successful in community. And I know what it takes. And I know, we both know, at some point your launch is going to flop and you're going to need to hear that is normal and okay. and, come up with pivot strategies together. And so thank you for that opportunity to share. It would be awesome to support you in the Collective Creator Academy. You can head over to michelleparis.com and read more about it there. It's a wicked space, and we would love to have you.
Yeah, that's something that I would have loved. It would have been a fantastic resource when I was graduating. And if, you just have to put yourself in the arena, right? If you really admire someone, you love what they're doing, get in their world, learn from them. We don't have to succumb to these narratives that it's not possible. Yeah.
Look to Tara and go follow her.
And Michelle.
I love having all these conversations, but I know we jam on entrepreneurship, and there'll be more of this coming. So if you guys want to send us questions, we'll put the SpeakPipe link in the show notes. Send us a voice note. We'll answer all your questions for free. Take us up on it, you crazy people. Take us up. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Wild Medicine. I am so grateful to have you here, and I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It helps us reach more incredible women just like you. And before you go, quick reminder, the information shared on this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat any medical condition. Please consult with your healthcare provider for personalized advice and care. And if you're ready to take inspired action and dive deeper into your own health journey, please visit us at poppyclinic.com. Let's rewild and reset your health together.